Hey everyone, it's Ryan here. I wanted to do my quick thoughts on the Nintendo Direct that happened yesterday on the 8th of February, and I don't want this to be super long, especially I don't want it to be longer than the Direct itself. I'm going to mainly be talking about a few select topics. If I don't talk about something, it's not necessarily that I don't care about it, it's that I really want to talk about some very specific things, so I'll highlight a few small things off the bat that are cool that I'm not going to go into super depth into. Pikmin 4 looks cool. Fantasy Life coming back is amazing. That's my fiance is one of her favorite 3DS games, so getting a sequel is cool. Professor Layton coming back is amazing. Zelda looks fine. Samba de Amigo coming back is really cool. That's about it for my little honorable mentions. I am going to be talking. And also Game Boy and Game Boy Advance coming to Switch Online is cool, and it launching today. I'm mainly going to be talking about the Xenoblade DLC teaser that they showed, the Fire Emblem DLC, and Metroid Prime. And I'm going to have these sectioned off in this video because the Fire Emblem and Xenoblade sections of this video are going to involve spoilers regarding Fire Emblem Engage, and also Xenoblades 1, 2, and 3, and X slightly. So they'll be marked, and before each section I'll make it clear that I'm going to be going into those specific spoiler sections, but I won't be talking about those spoilers outside of their sections. So let's get going. Metroid Prime Remastered is a thing that's been rumored and leaked for the longest time, for 5 years now. It was originally rumored as Metroid Prime Trilogy Remaster, and then, as of more recently, it's turned into just Metroid Prime 1, with Primes 2 and 3 coming later on, because word around the bush is that Retro Studios was working on remastering all three, but when they got pulled onto Prime 4, when that project started sinking, they had to come off of the Trilogy Remaster, so word is that they're going to be outsourcing to finish Echoes and Corruption. But also word is that they're not going to be at the same level of remaster as Prime 1. They're going to be kind of more like a normal Nintendo remaster, in a sense, at least from what I'm hearing. This obviously can change with time. But yeah, that's really cool, and there was a leak that popped up a few days ago saying that Prime 1 was going to shadow drop, and it did, digitally. It's really good so far. I love Metroid Prime. I love the whole trilogy, but this is with the caveat of I love the Metroid Prime trilogy on the Wii, because I hate how the game controls on the GameCube, mainly with it wasn't a true dual analog, and so they made this game dual analog, so it literally perfected it with fixing that control scheme. B, it allows you to use the classic control scheme if you're used to that. C, you can use the Metroid Prime Trilogy control scheme with the two Joy-Cons. And D, with the Morph Ball, you can jump. You have Spring Ball outside of using the Morph Ball Bomb, which means Metroid Prime 2 is going to be fantastic because you don't have to deal with the garbage of the Boss Guardians. So that's really good. That's really good. So this is literally going to be the definitive version of Metroid Prime. It looks really good. It sounds really good. I just got to the Chozo Ruins. I played a little bit last night. And it plays how exactly I would want it. And it looks exactly how I want it. And the music is really good. Play Metroid Prime. Get this game. It's literally only $40. I know the section was short, but I have a video talking about the lore of the Metroid series. And it covers up through Metroid Prime. Play this game. It's really good. It deserves it. Get hyped for Metroid Prime 4. Okay, next up is going to be the Xenoblade 3 section of the video. So if you have not played Xenoblades 1, 2, or 3, do that before going further, because this last wave of DLC is very much going to be playing on elements from all three titles. I know Monoliths said that you can play Xenoblade Chronicles 3 without playing 1 or 2 and enjoy it, and that is true. that warning is now in full effect for this last wave of DLC. We are going full into Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 events and fan service. So, last warning. Okay, Alvis is... I mean, they didn't name him as Console A, but we all know he's Console A, right? In Xenoblade Chronicles 3, there are 25 consoles, each named after a letter of the alphabet, the final boss being Console Z, or Z. And you never encounter Console A. And there's obviously, as soon as you hit Chapter 5, the backstory you learn of the founders of the city, the previous kind of group of Ouroboros, the initial group of Ouroboros, who fought against Mobius and who failed, leading into the Eternal Now. And those statues in that city that signify Rex and Shulk as mentors to two founders that we don't ever see. And here we have an older Shulk, which is fantastic, voiced by an older Adam Howden, or, I mean, technically he is voiced by an older... Adam Howden is voicing an older Shulk, and I can't tell, I don't think that's Rex's voice actor, but that is Rex, and he's dual-wielding the Aegis Blades, but noticeably, they do not have their core crystals, and it's also very interesting that Rex is the one who is calling Alvis a heartless machine, because he is like the one character who would never call a part of the Trinity processor heartless, because of his whole relationship with Pyra and Mithra, and his like eventual forgiving of Malos, and like him believing in the good in Malos even till the very end. So the only reason why Rex, I believe, would consider Alvis a heartless machine is if he did something to Pyra and Mithra. There's a reason why he just has the swords. He does not have the core crystal, and I think that is related. Of note, it is very interesting also to see that this is before the point where Shulk supposedly loses an arm, as said by the statues in the city, and Rex loses an eye. I saw a tweet online that made me sad because it suggested the idea that Shulk could lose his arm because he could attempt to wield the Monado again, and Alvis could deny him that power. And so he could end up like how Dunban attempted to wield the Monado in the beginning of Xenoblade 1, and it terribly like hurt his arm. So he was like, whenever he had to fight, he had to use his weaker arm. That could happen on a much worse scale to Shulk. And that's possibly what's going to happen, and that's such a thematic echo to Shulk's previous mentor. And Rex losing an eye to be more like Zeke is like a thematic echo to that relationship. I love that so much, and them going against Alvis is such an interesting concept that I wanted to happen, and I'm glad it is happening, because throughout Xenoblade 2, Pyra, Mithra, Numa, the combined essence, is a force of eternal like positivity. Like their entire conflict is that they are so kind-hearted that it leads to their like fractured mentality. Like their mental state is so fucked at the end of Torna, the Golden Country, because all they wanted to do was help. All Mithra wanted to do was help. And her power is too great that it came at such a high cost. Whereas Malos is the exact opposite of that, where Amalthus's desires and greeds like overwrote Malos's or Logos's programming. So he was, in a sense, like evil incarnate, but he was just doing as he knew. That was all he knew. And that leads to his own self-destruction, where he doesn't have the ability to form friends or really consider that relationship with Jin that Jin had with him, because of that self-destructive nature of full negative anger and like immoral intent, whereas Numa is the immoral intent taken to its most logical extreme. And then here Alvis is in the center. He's in the direct center of this trinity as Ontos, where he is entirely neutral. He serves whatever is like most interesting to him, And this plays out in Xenoblade 1. You have him show up to like assist Shulk by teaching him Monado Purge, but then you also see him as like one of Zanza's like disciples in a sense when you have the scene where Shulk like first dies, and then you come to learn that he's like really with Shulk all along, because at that moment humanity's willpower to survive and not have a world of gods overpowered Zanza's will to survive at the expense of others. And so for Shulk in that time, he became the Monado, he became his Monado, but that was specifically a very temporary partnership because it suited them in that moment. So Ontos, as a middle of the road figure between good and evil, which, by the way, is the subtitle to Xenoblade Saga Episode 1. I'm just going to search Beyond Good and Evil, but, you know. Alvis is the, like, new personification of the wave existence from Xenosaga, or whatever its name was in Xenosaga. Or wave existence from Xenogears. Udu from Xenosaga. Where he is truly, like, an ambivalent, neutral entity, and we saw how it feels good to have him on our side in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, but there's like the thought of like, oh no, what if he did turn like against us? Like, how would we go against that? Similar to how you had that thought of, oh, Dunban almost died from this. What would happen if something actually happened with a Monado rejecting you in that scale? So this DLC seems to be bringing back those questions, both from Xenoblade 1 and from Xenoblade 2, and saying, this is that worst case scenario right here. You're dealing with it, and it's not going to end well for these main characters. And I love that idea so much. Another idea that is very interesting is, a friend brought this up in my Discord server. Bob, credits to you. That Alvis could be the one. This goes back to Alvis maybe taking out Pyra and Mithra. He could be the one to fulfill the promise that Mithra made with Poppy near the end of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I think it was like chapter 8 or so, where Mithra kind of made Poppy promise if she ever could not stop herself, Poppy would need to eliminate her, kind of thing. And Bob said that that Poppy could not fulfill this request because she is a machine that grew a heart due to like her relationship with the cast. And that plays directly into Rex's Heartless Machine comment, because pulling again, Rex wouldn't just, out of nowhere say like Heartless Machine, because he has a friend who is a machine who very clearly has a heart. So if Alvis is able to perform this task, then I think that would be the culmination of what would lead to a Heartless Machine comment from Rex specifically, which is very interesting. And my last thought is the new hero in Wave 3 looks cool. They are kind of like a attack-based crit healer, kind of like Fiora was in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. That's cool. The new roguelike mode looks cool. But I need this DLC in my life now. So that's all my thoughts on Xenoblade for the moment. There's one more thing, sorry. Two more things. One thing is the Noah-like character that we see. I don't think it's actually Noah. I think it is the founder, Vandam, that we see, who has, he fights with his fists, and there are some screenshots of, like, there's, like, a Lucky 7-esque sheath, but it's, like, around his fists, like a, kind of like a Shania, like, weapon. And he's just Faye from Xenogears. He has the ponytail, and he has the martial arts. He's just Faye. I love it. And it helps that Noah is literally the Xenoblade version of Faye as it stands. So the fact that his ancestor / I believe his son's son, like N's son from the chapter 6, when one version of N has the child with Mio, and then that son watches N die. I think that child will have a son who will then go to become the character that we play as. Because he says, it wasn't enough killing Granddad, was it for you? Or something like that. He mentioned specifically a Granddad dying. So I think that, unless we learn more about that specific N's father, which I don't think is as likely, I think we'll see that child as a parent unit who is alive in the DLC. And I think we'll get some extra context on some scenes at the end cutscene. I think those will hit harder after the DLC, like how Torna's end made Xenoblade Chronicles 2's hit harder. And the last thing is, I'm going to call him Xenoblade Faye, because it might be Vandam, but I don't want to confuse you with Guernica Vandam, or Shania Vandam, or Monica Vandam. So there's a lot of Vandams running around. So Xenoblade Faye has a sort of persona. Like, his Ouroboros form is like a persona and not like a fusion of sorts. And it kind of looks like some concept art for the Ares skill from Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I'm sure could delve into plenty of Xenoblade X theories. That could be a thing. But we might have a gameplay standard where Ouroboros are more like kind of persona or stands, in a sense, rather like how Torna changed up the gameplay and refined the gameplay from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I think that's what's going to happen here. That's my final thoughts on Xenoblade. So finally, we're going to talk about Fire Emblem. And I have less to speak on because they kind of showed less, but I do have a little bit to talk about. So if you have not beaten Fire Emblem Engage, there's going to be some slight spoilers. So, yeah. The DLC was partially leaked through data mines, and I did mention this in the Fire Emblem review discussion video that I did. All of the heroes that were data mined did end up coming through. I didn't expect them to show every single one of them here, but they did. And it's really cool because some of these characters have never had 3D models, like Hector or Veronica. Let me confirm. Yeah, Hector never had a 3D model. So really cool. I love seeing Soren again. His and Ike's conversations are perfect. They're wonderful. I haven't gotten them yet. I've seen them on Twitter. So I've seen just the trailer, and then I've seen some screenshots on Twitter of conversations between Ike and Soren because they're gay, and I love it. Hector is amazing. I'm a little sad there's no Eliwood, but if I had to choose between Hector and Eliwood, it would be Hector, because we do have Roy. And I think Hector is the worst lord in this game. Anyway, then we have Soren, who is my favorite. Tellius is my favorite Fire Emblem continent, series of games. So anything from Tellius is perfect. And then we have Camilla, who I hate that she's so good. I'm hearing that she's like Sigurd, but a flying unit, which is really good, so I'm going to use her. I hate it. And I hate that she's the emblem of Revelation and not the emblem of Conquest, because she's like from Nor. So they're just sticking it in my face that Revelation has to be canon still more. I hate it. But anyway, Chrom and Robin looking amazing. I love that they're here together. And then Veronica, who is using her Book 6 design from Heroes, which is what I predicted, and is really good. And I love that her ability is using a gotcha mechanic from Heroes to summon units to help you. It's so good. I love it. I can't wait to learn more about her story when she comes in Wave 2, or Wave 3. And then they showed off Wave 4, which both Wave 4 for both Xenoblade and Fire Emblem, I didn't expect for them to show off here, because I thought they would have shown that off after Wave 3 came out, or Wave 2 in Fire Emblem's case. So it's nuts that they just showed everything. Where they showed off the Fel Xenologue, which is very interesting because we have some unique characters who are very notably Fel dragons that you can play as. They are Fel Manicheets, who outside of Tiki, who is like a divine Manicheet, is the only other Manakete in the game full of characters who are part dragon because they don't have their dragon stones. So this is very interesting. I don't have anything else to say about it because they didn't really show much. They showed that the two characters, Nell and some other name, Divine Dragon Intervention. I don't know if they were praying for Lumera, not knowing she's dead, or if they prayed specifically for Alir. My guess is I assume that they are like removed from society because they look like you're kind of like in an underground kind of place. So I assume they prayed for Lumera's assistance, and then Alir comes, and then he has to explain like, my mom's dead, yo. I wonder if this story will take place post the ending of the game, so we can dive more into like Fell Dragon lore and learn kind of more about Alir, maybe about some of his siblings. Maybe these are some siblings that didn't die out. Maybe. I don't know. They didn't leave us with much, but Wave 2 is out now, so I kind of want to go play to get Hector, Soren, and Camilla. But yeah, those are my thoughts on everything that happened in the Nintendo Direct that I hyperfixated on, plus some other things. So yeah, that was cool. I can't wait to talk more about them. As soon as more news comes out, I'll do some more in-depth thoughts stuff. Oh, also, I wanted to mention here, because I don't think I mentioned it in a video yet, I am working on a very large video. If you only kind of watch the videos and don't like follow me on Twitter, or don't check out the community posts, or don't follow me on Discord or whatnot, where I give kind of updates, and you're wondering like, where's the next like big explain video? I'm working on a few videos right now, and the big one right now that I'm putting my most focus into is a full retrospective on the first generation of Pokemon. And this is going to be very comprehensive. If you've seen the Quentin Reviews videos on the Nickelodeon sitcoms, like the 5-hour Victorious video, or the 8-hour Victorious Part 2 video, or like the multiple hour long videos on a very specific niche subject, that's what this video is going to be for the entire first generation of Pokemon, because I'm covering literally every aspect that I have a personal attachment to. So I'm covering the game, so it's going to be Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow explained. It's going to be the trading card game. More so my experience with that, because the trading card game is like the aspect I have the least experience with outside of just buying packs, which I can only talk about like the history of for so many seconds. The anime, and this is going to be a full retrospective of the anime, going through like each episode and telling the story, skipping kind of filler where it's not as important or relevant unless I have kind of stories to tell about it. Then going into the first two movies, because they're within the first generation kind of birth, and doing like a retrospective on those, and then going into the manga and going through the first arc of the Pokemon Adventures manga with some of the other shorter-lived Generation 1 kind of styled manga, and then ending on some fan stuff. So this is like going to be essentially several of my typical explained videos combined into one, and I'm thinking of maybe also releasing them as separate episodes after, so in case someone just wants to watch the anime retrospective, or the movie retrospective, or the game retrospective, those will be available. But I intend to release it first as one singular Generation 1 experience. So that is coming. Let me I wasn't planning to pull up the document real quick, but I will, so I can tell you how far it is right now, because this script is massive. I haven't started recording any of the narration yet. I haven't started working on any of the editing. I'm still writing the script. I posted some of my in-progress screenshots on my YouTube community page. So this script is currently 97 pages long, and that is like 8.5 by 11 pages, like a normal sheet of paper. 97 pages long, and is almost 40,000 words. The exact word count is 37,783. It is almost half of the length of a novel, almost a third of the length of one of my novels. So this is going to be a big video. That is why it's taking so long, and kind of why I'm releasing kind of smaller videos in the interim. Because this is going to be I want this to be like one of my best videos, and I'm going to continue with gens 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are obviously going to take longer as we go on. But yeah, I hope you enjoy, because Pokemon is a series I have a very fond attachment to. And this side channel originally, this channel started as a side channel to talk exclusively about Pokemon. So I feel like my first large series like this should be dedicated to Pokemon. So yeah, that's coming out. And if you want to check that out, subscribe and like this video and tell me about your experience with Pokemon. If it's interesting and it relates to something in the script, I can add it with your permission, of course. Bye.